These are testing times for our party and for our country. A paralysed parliament, a polarised politics, and urgent reforms that this country needs put on pause. And all because the referendum vote has not been honoured and Brexit has not been delivered. .4 million people voted to leave the European Union in June 2016, more than have ever voted for any party or any policy in our country's history. But 3 years on, that democratic verdict has not been honoured. We cannot allow this division and delay to continue. We must get Brexit done. And the only party leader determined to secure a good deal for Britain and to get Brexit done is our Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. Now, I've known Boris for more than 30 years, and while we haven't always agreed on everything, let me tell you this. Boris is brave, he is determined, he loves this country, and he delivers. And that's because Boris is an optimist. He believes in the power of the British people to change the world for the better. And that optimism has allowed him to overcome big challenges before. Throughout his career of public service, people have told him, it just can't be done. You can't possibly beat Ken Livingstone in London to become the mayor. You can't possibly get re-elected in a Labour city with a Conservative government in Westminster. You can't possibly get new bikes on our roads, new buses on our streets, keep fares down, keep the economy growing, cut crime, get investment for new schools, and deliver the world's best ever Olympics, and lift thousands out of poverty. But again and again, Boris has delivered. As he did when we led the Vote Leave campaign. People said we'd never win. The odds were against us, the establishment was against us, even Nigel Farage was against us. But Vote Leave won. Because our message then, like our Prime Minister today, was optimistic, forward-looking, and freedom-loving. And that's why I trust Boris to do what we've waited too long to do. Get a great deal, get Brexit done, and allow us to get on with what really matters. Investing in our precious NHS, supporting teachers in our great state schools, and backing our brave police in the fight against crime. These are the people's priorities. They are our priorities. And that is why now we are the real People's Party. And of course, while we're optimistic about our future, we're also realistic about some of the challenges immediately ahead. In getting Brexit done, we will have to show resolution. We have to negotiate hard to get the right Brexit deal. And if we don't get a deal by October the 31st, then we will have to leave without a deal. We simply cannot allow this process to drag on indefinitely. Now, I don't deny that leaving without a deal will, initially, mean that there are some challenges. The EU plans to impose new tariffs, new checks on trade, and it isn't showing the same generosity to UK nationals as we're showing to EU nationals. But we will stay open for trade, open for business, and determined to respect the rights of all EU citizens in this country. And we've taken huge steps to get ready. We're investing in new customs procedures to smooth trade, we're supporting business to adapt to new rules, and we're standing up for our citizens abroad. The level of our preparations has accelerated massively since Boris became Prime Minister. Now, of course, we can't anticipate every risk, we can't guarantee against some turbulence, And that's why I would much prefer us to secure a deal with the EU before October the 31st. After all, it's in their interests as well as ours. But if we can't, then leave we must. Because while the difficulties caused by leaving without a deal will pass, the damage to our democracy in not getting Brexit done would endure and resound for much longer. Our democracy is precious, and it depends on people trusting us as politicians when we say that we will put our trust in them. On the eve of the referendum result in 2016, it was the late Paddy Ashdown who actually got to the heart of it. He said, "I will forgive no one who does not accept the sovereign voice of the British people once it has spoken. When democracy speaks, we obey." When democracy speaks, we, the politicians, obey. That's the position of a true liberal and a true Democrat. But it is not the position of the party that today calls itself the Liberal Democrats. They refuse to accept the sovereign voice of the British people. They have worked constantly to delay, dilute, and deny Brexit. And now they want to cancel Brexit altogether. Telling the public that they won't be listened to until they agree with Guy Verhofstadt isn't liberal or democratic. It's patronising, condescending, we know best, get back in line and know your place arrogance of the kind that makes Marie Antoinette seem like a model of grounded humility. Voting Liberal Democrat doesn't get Brexit done, but it does risk something else. Prime Minister Jeremy Corbyn. Voting for any party other than the Conservatives risks letting Labour into power and Corbyn into Downing Street. And Labour in government wouldn't get Brexit done. They want to prolong our membership of the EU, negotiate for many months more with Brussels, then agree a deal but only on the EU's terms, and then hold another referendum in which they would be prepared to say that we should stay in the EU forever. When we should be getting on with improving education, strengthening the NHS and fighting crime and creating jobs, Labour would be getting on with what it does best, showing weakness abroad, sowing division at home, and tearing itself and the country apart. You simply need to look at Jeremy Corbyn's record. How can we let a man who supported Sinn Féin IRA be in charge of our nation's security? How can we let a man who thinks that we shouldn't have immigration controls be in charge of our borders? How can we let a man who thinks we should punish companies for being successful be in charge of our economy? And how on earth can we let a man who's indulged, accommodated, and excused the most terrible anti-Semitism be in charge of our democracy? Soft on terrorism, supine on security, bankrupt economically, and a danger to minorities, Jeremy Corbyn is totally unfit to be Prime Minister of our country. Yes, these are testing times. But when our party and our country have been tested in the past, we have met and mastered the challenges of our times. Conservatives rose to the challenge of the Industrial Revolution, with the courage to cut tariffs and with the compassion to pass laws to protect factory workers. Conservatives responded to the turbulence of the 1930s, with investment in health and housing for the poorest, and the resolution to rearm in the face of dictatorships. Conservatives also reversed the decline of our nation in the 1980s by spreading wealth, extending home ownership, increasing educational opportunity, and facing down Marxism at home and abroad. And of course, after the great crash of 2008, it was Conservative leadership that repaired our economy, reformed our schools, helped millions into work, put rehabilitation at the heart of justice, fought climate change, enhanced our environment, and held the light of liberty aloft while freedom came under attack across the globe. Now we have the chance, this generation of Conservatives to embrace a new decade of renewal, to make our country the best in the world for education and science, the best in the world when it comes to using technology to banish hunger, fight climate change, and end poverty, the most civilized, tolerant, and welcoming home to people of all backgrounds, the most creative, imaginative, and entrepreneurial place on earth, a nation renewed and a mission to lead the world. That is our challenge and our calling. Let us be worthy of it, together.